Great afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the I Am Transformed show where we interview real people with real life transformations. If your own fears and insecurities are hindering you from pursuing your dreams, guess what? The wait is over. When you can change your mindset, you can change your life. So go after that life that you desire and deserve. I am Veronica Outlaw, your no excuses transformation coach. I am here to help you proclaim I am transformed. So today we have with us Miss Jaunai Walker, who is a personal development speaker. She's a coach and a trainer. She's a multiple national award-winning sales professional with over 17 years of experience in education, medical, and advertising industries. Now, Jay is the Chief Inspiration Officer at the Success Group Incorporation, and her hopes is that she inspires both entrepreneurs and career professionals to be the absolute best versions of themselves. Jay is a devoted Christian. She loves connecting with others and currently resides in Coral Springs, Florida. Now, you can find Jaunai on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as Jaunai Walker, and her website is www.jaunaiwalker.com. Today is a special treat because she is going to speak with us on the successful habits for successful people. And we're going to touch on mindset, we're going to touch on negative self-talk, and we're going to talk about the habits of successful habits that we have to have in order to maintain business. So if you would, welcome Ms. Jaunai Walker. Jaunai, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Dr. Veronica, for having me on your show.
Absolutely. You are an absolute pleasure. We met on Facebook some time ago. I can't remember how we connected, but you've been a great resource, and I appreciate you for accepting the invite.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually my honor. Thank you so much.
Well, we're gonna dive right into it, Jaunai. Tell us who Jaunai Walker is.
Sure. So I am a trainer and a speaker in the area of professional development and business development. I spent the last 18 years now. I probably need to update my bio, but it's 18 years as a sales and marketing professional. And throughout those 18 years, yes, I have been successful in business, but the most important part of my journey involved the transformation within inside of myself. And so it hasn't always been easy. We all come with things that we want to get better at, and then we all come with things that we don't know that we need to get better at. And so I just help people who want to be on that journey to a version of themselves that they can love and that they can appreciate, and that they can just go out there and accomplish whatever it is that they want to accomplish.
Absolutely. So before we dive into that, you talked about your self transformation. If you don't mind, let's discuss that and the path that led you here.
Sure. So I was one of those people that suffered with really poor negative self-talk, as I like to call stinking thinking. It was almost like the thoughts in my head were just like, you ever seen the green eggs and ham? How that, imagine how something foul would smell. Well, that's what my thoughts were like. They were foul smelling. They were just not kosher, right? And so I had to learn how to kind of turn those things around. But people always ask me, well, Jay, like, what do you mean you had, poor self-talk or stinking thinking? I had low self-esteem, right? I did not believe in myself. I struggled academically as a teenager in school. So I never really thought that I was smart enough to do anything, right? I didn't think I was beautiful because we grew up in a time where being dark skinned was not, a beautiful thing, even though it is, right? But that was the narrative at the time. I grew up in a time where, the way your hair looked, or if you didn't have the newest outfit or the newest brand, that you just were seen as less than. And I carried that. I internalized those things and I carried it with me. And it started to show up in different areas of my life. Like my relationships started to show up in work. It started to show up in just how I carried myself. And I knew that if I wanted to be successful, like the people that I saw on TV or the people that I saw inside these companies I was working for, I really needed to focus on here and in here.
Got you. Got you. So, because you went there, let's talk about what was that turning point for you that said, I've got to make this change. And when you said that, what changes did you make? Was it, you know, being mentored by somebody else? Was it something internally that just sparked for you? What was that thing that helped turn the key for you?
Absolutely. It was actually a girlfriend of mine. I was sitting there and I was getting my hair done. And I was explaining to her that I was having a rough time on my job because my coworkers had asked me how somebody like myself could get the job. And they did not mean that in a positive way.
Okay.
And my girlfriend, who was doing my hair at the time, she turned the chair around and she says, listen, she's like, I need you to know something. She says, if anyone has any problem as it relates to you, she says, it's really not you. She's like, I want you to know. She was like, you are amazing. You are awesome. You are everything. Right. And I was like, wow. And now this is not one of those friends that was like a lovey-dovey friend. This is one of those friends where she's going to tell it to you straight like it is.
Right.
And for some reason, her words kind of stuck to me. And it was at that moment I realized that I was giving other people and other things and other thoughts the power.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so when she said that to myself, that's when I realized that I needed to do something about who I am.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
So you, in your form to me, you talked about three things. You talked about mindset, negative self-talk, and habits for success. So let's start with mindset. What is it that you want to share about mindset and how it can essentially make or break you?
Yeah. Your mindset can make or break you because whatever you believe, you become. Whatever you believe, you see. Whatever you believe, you create. And so when we begin to understand that power that we have, then you realize that you have to get your mindset right. Right. So for me, because I saw so many negative things within myself, that's what kept showing up. And that's what I kept getting confronted with. And
Mm,
even though it was the other people that were saying those things, they said those things because I projected
mm,
those things, right?
right.
And so believing, who I wanted to become was the first step to then changing that self-talk, right? I had to wake up. The first thing I actually did to change my self-talk was I changed the music that I listened to.
Ah,
And the one song that really comes to mind is I'm a Survivor by Destiny's Child. I played that song every day. And you would be surprised at how something so small like that will have you in your feelings as you're going throughout your day, right? And
right.
so even till today, I can hear that I'm a survivor, right? And so that was one of the ways I started to change my self-talk. So my belief was just one area. My mindset was just one space. My mindset told me that I was better than this. My mindset told me that I had the power to make the change. The first change that I made was actually changing the way I spoke to myself,
Right.
which is that negative thinking and stuff.
Mm,
So being able to grab a hold of that, using affirmations. Affirmations are so powerful because affirmations have a tendency to stick to your subconscious.
Mm.
And your subconscious is what controls the part of your body that your conscious doesn't, meaning we don't think about it, right? So if your subconscious talks and controls your heart and your breathing, it also controls your thought patterns, right? So I knew I had to dig deep and put things inside of my subconscious so that way it could run on autopilot. So I began then to sleep with meditation at night that had affirmations in it. So as I was sleeping, I was changing my mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say those were two of the biggest things that I did that were absolutely free.
Right, right.
And once I began to get the mindset and the self-talk under control, then I started to really think about, okay, what can I do with this as in goals? How can this, turn around for my job or for a business or for a weight loss or for whatever goal that I had, right? I just told myself that whatever I wanted, I had the power to go out there and make it happen. And slowly but surely, it began to happen that way. I remember if you go back on my social media, 7, 8 years ago, you will always see hashtag winning, right? Every day I was posting something where I was winning at, even if winning was wearing a great lipstick color or a great shoe, right? I put myself in the mindset that I was finding ways to win on a daily basis. And when you find ways to win, you win. And so that's how I started to get all of those awards behind me. I don't know if you see them,
Yeah.
but everything started to happen for me at that point. And now I have the proof that I'm good at what I do. I have the proof that I can be just as amazing as I want to be, right?
Right.
So that now stands in the place of having to listen to the affirmations all the time because I built up the proof within me. And so that's what I want other people to realize, that if I can do it, a lot of people don't realize. I didn't even know I was graduating high school until the last day of high school.
Oh, okay.
And that's the truth to this. And it
Right.
all started from here and from here.
Right. And I think exactly what you said applies to every area in life, whether it's broken relationships that we feel like we can't get over, the guilt and the condemnation, the jobs feeling like we're not up to par because somebody else may have the degree of the certifications and we don't, the weight loss, like you said, all of those things can be applied to any area in life. But it begins with us, like Waukesha says, it begins with us.
It begins with us, right? And it begins with how you think and how you talk to yourself, right? So find ways to love yourself. This is the absolute basic part of self-care.
Mm,
Basic. Some people say, "Oh, I need self-care. Let me go for a massage." Well, how about let's massage our hearts?
right,
Right. Let's get our minds right.
right, right. Because that massage is temporary, but what you feed your mind can be permanent, whether
Uh,
it's good or bad.
Whether good or bad, exactly. And that's the thing. It can happen on a good note or a bad note. I'd rather put most of my energy into making things on the good note, right? And a lot of people always think, well, oh my God, you're so, positive and you do this. Listen, let me tell you something. This is not a destination. I have not arrived. I am still on a journey, right? And I have bad days. I have bad times. I have times when I don't win at things, right? And so because of that, when you talk to yourself, you can say, okay, I didn't do so hot at this particular thing, but what can I do to win at the next time that I try? And that's what we call a growth mindset, is knowing that the only difference that separates you from achieving your goals is just knowing.
Right, right. And I appreciate that you said that, because just because we're having this talk doesn't mean we don't face issues at some point. And so, but it depends on how we face those issues when they arise. So if you could, what's that one thing or two that you are working on right now to get over?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think like everybody else, I'm trying to get over this whole anxiety of this coronavirus, right? Of having to shift and having to pivot. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not the best person when it comes to change, right? I
Okay.
have to kind of massage myself a little bit to get myself in the mood to kind of do things differently, right?
Okay.
So I am working to ease my frustration, my anxiety of not having control over something that's taken over the whole world.
Right.
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 And then the second thing that I'm really having to deal with, and I just wrote a blog article about it, is really trying to break through and recover from perfectionism.
Mm,
Because now that's a tough one for me.
me too.
That's a tough one because when you get a certain amount of success, right? There's things that come along with it, and you feel the need to have to always be perfect and to do better every single time. And and when you lead a life in the public where people can see your falls, not only do they see your wins, but they also see your falls.
Right.
That can be very challenging, right? So I just decided, and I made the decision that I don't have to always be right. But don't tell any of my man friends that. Don't tell any of my male friends that. I'm still right. But no, I seriously, I had to get over the fact that, every once in a while I might spell a word wrong. Every once in a while, I might put out something that's not necessarily checked over because I'm rushing, right?
Right.
Or I might miss a deadline, right? Because of something that's happening. But you know what? As long as I keep my feet moving, like I don't know if you remember Sonic the Hedgehog. He was a little game and his feet would move really fast.
Oh yeah.
When he would, like, that's how I see myself now. Like, as long as I keep my feet moving, that's winning now. Versus, okay, I have to have, this award over here, or I have to have accomplished this. I look at things as in, the journey as in keeping my feet moving, meaning not letting anything stop me.
Right.
Procrastination, perfectionism, over analyzing, those are silent killers of success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was supposed to start this podcast back in the last summer, and because of fear and perfection, I didn't start until November. And I got to a place where somebody said to me, nobody's looking for perfection from you. That's your thing. They're looking for the content that's of value to them and it's going to help them solve a problem. So focus on the value and the content and not being perfect, because you're never going to be perfect. As long as things are changing, you're always going to be growing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that pierced some of that off of me a little bit, but I still have a ways to go with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, listen, join the crowd, girl. I can tell you that it's not easy. And, I love the word intentional, right? So we have to be intentional to make sure that we remind ourselves that done is better than perfect.
Right.
And we get to choose between perfection and success.
Right.
I'd rather be on the success side of it rather having to be right.
Right. Right.
So it's a choice that we make, right? And kudos to you for getting over that fear, because that's a win. You didn't let fear beat you. And that's the scary thing. I know that there's a lot of people out there that fear beats them, and I want to let people know that they can step over fear. And
Right.
if you can't step over it, you can drop kick it in the throat.
Right. Exactly. And I'm not going to say that the fear is gone 100% because every time I step out, I do get fearful because I want to grab hold to that perfection again.
Yeah.
But each time I'm saying to myself that I cannot let this have control over me. And so that pushes me a little bit forward. And, with each step, I continue to grow. So it's not that fear is gone, but I have a different mindset about it. And so I'm not going to let anything disrupt my peace, disrupt my happiness. And so I choose that, like you said, you have the choice to continue to let this thing keep you down or to move forward and prosper with it.
And we have to learn how to do things afraid, like you.
Right.
When you decided that you weren't going to let fear control you, it wasn't like, oh, okay, I made the decision, now fear is gone.
Right.
No, the fear was still there, but you decided that you were going to do it afraid.
Right.
Anyway. And
Right.
that's the point to where we have to get all of our brothers and sisters to, because they don't realize that.
Right. Right. I choose happiness. And so I'm going after those things that make me happy. And I don't want to go and be 2, 3 years, 5 years down the road regretting what I could have done back then. Because who knows, who knows, what could have transpired. And I missed out on it because I let fear stop me.
Yeah, exactly. You bring up something that's really, that I was just kind of thinking about this morning as I was thinking about the podcast. And I was thinking kind of about the word of the year for me is create. Yeah, transparency is a great word, Rakisha. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We need more transparency in our community, and as it relates to these type of things, because sometimes these things manifest in ways that they cannot be seen by the natural eye.
Right.
Like I said, I suffer from perfectionism, but really that is a cover up for insecurity. I always think that I have to be right. So we just have to notice the symptoms of it. And the only way you can notice the symptoms is to be transparent.
Right.
And I didn't really get a lot of healing until I started talking about it to other people. Because I was ashamed. What I'm sharing with you was something that I was ashamed of for years.
Right.
Then I realized that I wasn't the only one. And so it gave me courage to come out and talk a little bit more about how it manifests, because a lot of people will look at me and they'll think, oh, she doesn't have anything wrong in her. I'm here. Uh-oh, am I back?
You're back.
Okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, so it's absolutely not the case that there's nothing there's so many things in my life that's not perfect, but I don't want to waste another 43 years of waiting for something to happen in order for me to have a perfect life, because that does not happen. A good example of that is when we talk about people and their purpose. A lot of people spend their whole life looking for their purpose. You never lost your purpose. You create your purpose. That's the power of that word create. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that I spoke about that, because when you really stop and think about the word create, it gives you a sense of power, right? So like, this is your podcast. You don't have to do your podcast the way millions of other people are out there doing their podcast, but you have the power to create it the way that you want it and the way that it works for you.
Right. Right.
And that's what I like about, this mindset, this growth mindset that I have.
Right. And the other thing I like about creating is the fact that it's enough out there for everybody. And I enjoy networking with people like you who don't consider it robbery to share and care and share. So I appreciate you, and I'm glad we've connected.
Oh yeah, you're such a blessing.
Oh,
It's
you are. So let's jump to what you want to share about negative self-talk.
Oh, negative self-talk is horrible. It's a form of abuse.
Absolutely.
The way I look at it, if my best friend called me and say she was working on something, and let's just say she did not make her goal,
Okay.
would I then turn around and say to her, "Oh my God, you're horrible. You suck at what you do. I told you not to do this, right? Why would you even do this? Why would you go out there and do it that way?" Would I say that to my best friend? Absolutely not.
Right.
But if I wouldn't say it to my best friend, then why would I turn around and have that conversation with myself?
Exactly. Exactly.
Because that's what we do. That's exactly what we do to ourselves when we're in the shower or when we are by ourselves. We begin to have that. And so we have to be mindful that we have to take care of our own emotions, and it starts with not abusing yourself.
Right. Right. Oh, that was good because we don't even pay attention that we're doing it to ourselves. We identify when other people do it to us as abuse, but we don't see that as abuse when we do it to ourselves. That was really good.
Yeah, thank you. That's how I saw it, and when it was brought to me that way, I almost cried because I
Wow.
was like, "Oh my God, I would never do that to her." Like,
Right.
oh my, I would feel horrible. I would feel like a horrible person if I did that to her. But then
Right.
I was like, "Well, wait a second, Jay,
Right.
you were doing it to yourself your whole life."
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you do you have any favorite books that you've read to help you with this journey, or has it mostly been mentors or other people in your life?
No, one of the best books I ever read was, and I don't want to curse on your show. It's a book by Jen Sincero, and it's called "You're a Bad ASS."
Okay.
Um, and that book, honestly, was a spinoff, in my opinion. I don't know if this is if Jen Sincero's thoughts about it, but to me, it was like a dead ringer from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
Are talking about the subconscious and the power that we have inside of us. But she just put it in, like that girlfriend, like having a glass of wine, let me tell you about yourself, right? She put it in those words. So I highly recommend that, for any of my sisters out there, that if you really want an awakening, to check out Jen Sincero's that the title of the book that we I highly suggest that you check that out. And honestly, I read that book. I read Think and Grow Rich. It might have been about 6 years ago, and it was about 3 or 4 years ago that I came across Jen's, and I read Jen's at least 2 or 3 times since then,
Okay.
because it's a great reminder. Because what a lot of people think is because you learn something that you've learned it, but it's always good to go back, because yeah, you might have learned a couple of the things, but then now that you're at a different level, it's like go back and see what else you can pull out of it. And
Right.
so that's a good book to keep on your shelf or to keep on your Kindle, and maybe every year just revisit it.
Right. Because depending on what season you're in, when you read something over again, something else jumps out at you and connects with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, just like the Bible, you can read the same scripture over and over and over, and this one day you're having trouble with whatever, and you read that same scripture again, and it resonates to you differently.
I'm just going to say amen to that.
Absolutely. So let's jump to talking about habits for success.
Yes.
What do your daily habits look like?
Well, they change as life changes, as things come up. So basically, I decided that there are some core fundamental things that I have to do in order to have a great day. One of them is I love to go walking first thing in the morning. One, it just there's something about doing that because I usually was working out at night, but to know that I'm taking care of myself first, I don't know, I just get a giggle out of it. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing this for myself and can't nobody take it away from me. And
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten a habit of doing that. But the reason why I did that was because they said that walking helps you with creativity.
Mhm.
And so with us being creatives, right? Creativity is very important to me. And so I started the habit of walking every day in the morning. I also started the habit of I like to read books. However, with the way my life is set up right now, I can't necessarily read a whole book, but I can do audiobooks and I could do audio summaries. So every morning and every night, as I am preparing myself either to go to bed or to go to work, I am listening to a summary. So I'm constantly being fed information about, you know, how to succeed at different things. So that's the other thing. The things that I'm struggling with, the habits that I'm struggling with is the eating right? Because every time I sit here at this desk and I start to create, for whatever reason, I want to eat. I'm working on that. I'm a work in progress. But if anybody has anything to help me out with that, please let me know because I'm all ears when it comes to stuff like that. But habits, when we talk about habits, that's the other part of the power that we kind of don't think about. Your habits, your small daily steps is what really spawns big achievement. So the fact that I get out there and I walk every day, slowly but surely, I'm starting to lose a little weight, right?
Right.
So I'm not going to wake up one day and just be down 15 pounds.
Right.
It just doesn't. However, eventually in about 3 months or so, I'll probably be down, you know, like 15 pounds. But it's walking 30 minutes on a daily basis that's going to help me to get there. So your habits are what feeds your goals. So if you have a goal of losing weight, it's kind of like, well, what are you going to do on a daily basis in order to lose weight? Right? If you want to write a book, if you want to write a 40,000 page book, you're not just going to wake up one morning and write 40,000 words.
Right.
It doesn't happen. But if I tell you, Dr. Veronica, you want your book, write 400 pages a day. You'll have it done in 100 days, which is a little over 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does that sound? You're like, oh,
Right.
a little bit more doable, right? And so that's what the power of habits are. And actually, most of the successful people that you look at, they have habits. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. The part you said about the walking, I can totally attest to that. When I walk, I'm walking at least no less than 5 miles. My intent is to do 3, but before I look up, I'm at 4.5, and I'll say I might as well just get the other mile in. But I believe God downloads to me while I'm walking. Um, I believe that clarity comes through walking. I'm not disturbed by the phone ringing or someone knocking at the door or the TV in the background. It's just a wonderful time away, a time of escape. And so I totally agree with what you're saying as well.
And I see you out there. I see you out there, girl. You're doing good.
I love it. I still have. I had a health scare back in June. The doctor said my cholesterol was super high, and so he wanted to put me on medicine immediately. That's how high I was. And I left there and I said the devil is a lie. I'm not going to be put on medicine for something that's preventable and or reversible. So I made the commitment to go whole food plant based, started exercising, got rid of the meat, got rid of the sodas, and I started walking. And within June, July, August, I think it was a 2 or 3 month period, I was down almost 20 pounds.
Nice.
And then so when November came, we had a family issue to come up that I'm, dealing with. And so I did get off track a little bit. But this week I started over because my appointment is next month. And I don't want to be in a position where he says you have to be on this medication. And so just starting over has been really refreshing. Walking makes me smile. I hate I can't do it first thing in the morning like I did in the summer just because it's too cold and dark.
Yeah.
But summer's coming again and I'll get to do that again. But yeah, it's awesome.
Good for you. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I even take my phone out there because I get this little creative burst of energy, and I've created outlines for like my coaching program literally while I'm walking, because somebody that messed up and taught me that I don't have to necessarily type. I could just speak in what I want to say. I was like, they done messed up now.
Right.
And so that is so refreshing to have that. So always take your phone. The best thing is when God is blessing us with ideas. He's telling us for a reason, and we need to write those things down and capture it, right? So kudos to you for that.
I'm gonna tell you something funny. The downloads were happening so fast to the point where I wasn't finishing the first project before I went to the next download, then the next and the next. And I had a conversation with Roxanne, who said, just because God gives you a download doesn't mean that's something that you need to act or implement on right now. And so I did receive that because I was driving myself crazy with all these ideas and not being able to finish them, doing too much at one time. So yeah, that audio version or those notes on your phone can keep your ideas intact, but it doesn't mean that you have to jump on them right now today.
Oh, listen, let me tell you something. God did a number on me with that, what you're talking about. Sometimes, what usually generally happens, downloading stuff to me maybe at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around there. I would just wake up and I would just have this idea or this word. And so I used to fight with God in the middle of the night. I'm like, God, that is not my word. You gave me this word and you said it's good for a year, And so not 2020, but in 2019, it actually happened twice, but I'm going to tell you, actually, it was January of 2020, before this whole coronavirus thing came up. I woke up in the middle of the night and the word that was on my heart was reset. And usually what God had just did, my birthday's in August. So when he says he's giving me a year, he told me he was giving me a year. And the word he gave me that August before was expectation. Right. And so I'm thinking I'm carrying this word with me, or I'm carrying this season with me for a whole year. Right. But he do his own thing, girl. So imagine he's waking me up in the middle of the night and he's like, reset. And I'm like, no, my word is expectation. All right. And it was like, reset. So anyway, so I was having a conversation with my girlfriend. I'm like, God woke me up. He told me reset, girl. I don't know what he's talking about. A month later, COVID hit, the world shut down, everything. My girlfriend called me. She says, Jay, now you know what God was talking about, reset.
Right.
And I said, oh my God, you are so right. So sometimes when he gives us stuff, it could be something that's about to happen. It could be something that he's just given us a glimpse to, so we can understand what's about to happen, so we can be prepared for something, or know that there was a change coming. Because I'm telling you, that reset that God had for me, life changing. And that's why he said it to me. He said reset, my whole life reset. Whole life over something that was meant for destruction and harm. My whole life changed.
Right.
So God is amazing, and he does amazing things, and he does it when he's ready. And you might not know what he's talking about.
Right. So you have to always stay prepared, always be quiet and listening and be ready to execute.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't argue with him like I be arguing with
Right.
him. That's just in my person.
Right. Oh man, this has been so good, Jaunai. What I want you to do is to give us advice on developing a habit. And so, but what comes for me is setting those goals. And I know that you've taught on goal setting. So, how does setting goals play into developing successful habits?
Well, so your habits go into your goals, right? And in order for the goals to manifest, you have to take some type of action, right? And so it's easier to do something it's easier to take small steps than to take these big, large, grand steps, right? So it's almost like telling somebody that they have to run a 5K, right? Well, they don't start off running 5K, right? They start off with, if it's me, it's little short spurts, corner and back, right? Until I could do more. But your habits are the things that are going to set you up. They're trackable, so that way if you don't meet it, you know what you need to move around, what you need to shift. I'm known for this because I'm a sales and marketing professional. What I love to do is I love to play around with numbers, right? So if I need to make a certain amount of money or whatever, I might say, well, instead of doing 10 phone calls a day, I might up it to 15 phone calls a day, right? Okay. Versus just saying, well, now you got to make an extra $10,000. Well, how am I going to do that, right? So it gives you a map of how to reach your goals, and you can create that, and you can create stuff that works for you. And sometimes our habits, you might need to switch things up a little bit until you can find something that absolutely works for you. But habits are absolutely necessary. It also builds small wins. Big wins come out of small wins, right? So every day that you complete a habit, that's a win. Yeah. And you need to reward yourself. So if you don't have habits or things that you should be doing on a daily basis, how do you reward yourself? Rewards actually brain into going back and doing that habit again the next day. There was a study that said that people who ran and came home and had one little tiny piece of chocolate were more likely to run again every day just because they had that one little tiny piece of chocolate, right? And so it's finding that reward that works for you. But in order to reward yourself, you need to have a habit. So they all kind of go
hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If a person did not meet a goal for this particular day or maybe at the end of the week, what is your thoughts on when people say give yourself grace?
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to give yourself grace because we're not going to accomplish everything all the time, right? That goes back to being a perfectionist, because when you think that you're supposed to be 100% all the time, when you have that slip up, then you mentally start to break down and start to have that self-talk, and then it's harder to get back on track. Your numbers and your habits and things of that nature are not there to beat you up. They're there for you to track, so that way you'll know what you need to do the next day. I don't get to walk every morning. Sometimes I have an 8 o'clock meeting. It takes me a whole hour to get dressed for the 8 o'clock meeting. So therefore that walk might not happen. But I can say, okay, well, I missed my 30 minutes on Tuesday. Where can I fit in that extra 30 minutes? So maybe on Wednesday, I'll do 45 minutes, and on Thursday, I'll do 45 minutes. So that way I know that I can still get it in. That's what you want to look at. So you can make adjustments, and don't beat yourself up because you don't meet your goal. Sometimes we don't get things because the thing that we're supposed to get was the learning
Right.
in it.
Right.
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 And so if we're constantly winning, we don't really have any way to learn. We're not learning. So just take it as a learning lesson and assess. A lot of people, they don't do that. A lot of people, they don't do weekly reviews
Mm,
of what it is that they're doing. So that way they can find the learning moments and make the.
got you. Got you. Being flexible with yourself, that absolutely is the key.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I love that. Be flexible with yourself. Yeah. Be bendable.
Because if you don't, you like you said, you're beating yourself up for something that you didn't do that you can easily regroup and do at another time. The whole thing is meeting those goals, and it does meeting those goals doesn't mean that you had to walk 30 minutes every day, but what if you did the same amount of time in 3 days or 4 days?
Right. Right.
So I had to learn that too, because I don't know how many different fitness programs I've been on that fell by the wayside because I either fell behind in the group or for whatever reason, instead of just saying, okay, they're going at 15 miles an hour, I'm going at 2. I just need to go at my 2 and finish when I finish and not worry about finishing with the group. So,
Then you bring up a really good point. We have got to stop comparing ourselves to other people. We
right,
have, because that is the way the world is set up right now on social media. Forget about it. You're
right.
always gonna find somebody that's skinnier, that's prettier, that got longer hair, that got more money, that got a better job, that got a better car. Stop.
Right.
Stop comparing yourself to what other people are doing. Listen, I used to go in a spin class and I used to see people have their lever all the way down. And I'm like, woo. And so here's me.
Yeah.
I would put my towel over my lever because I'm like, if they only saw my lever was on notch 2 and they're on notch 10, you
Right.
know. But you know what? I had the biggest growth because I was the one that was losing the most because I was always showing up. So you can't compare. If I would have compared myself to these people that, they were on level 10, I would have stopped. I was
Right.
we have to learn how to say, so what?
Right.
So
Run your
what?
own race. Exactly.
Run your own race. And it does not matter what somebody else is doing. It does not matter what somebody else is not doing. You just have to worry about your own self and what you're doing.
Exactly. Exactly. And feel proud of what you're doing. The fact that you even started is a win within itself. So
Yeah.
do what you have to do in order to finish your race and meet your goals and your wins and be all the better for it.
Right.
Instead of following somebody else and quitting along the way.
Right. Because our journey, everybody's journey is different. The same way
Right.
we each have a different fingerprint, the way God designed us is that our journeys, first off, they're not our own, but second of all, they're going to be different. So you can't follow somebody else. Now you can follow a mentor and they can help guide you, but
Right.
even still, you're still going to find that you're going to have to do things your way
Right.
anyway. At the end of the day.
Right. Right. Find out what works for you and do that.
Mhm.
Exactly. And actually that's walking in wisdom when you are in a place and open to mentorship. They're going to guide you like you said, but your process is your process. You're going to have strengths and weaknesses that mentor has or doesn't have, so you've got to find your own way and be
Yeah.
successful in the path that you create for yourself.
Right. And reward yourself and be proud of yourself. And, that's why another reason those weekly reviews are so good. So that way, not only are you assessing things that need to be changed, but so you can celebrate the win that you had.
Right.
Because that's how you build what I like to call the big mo, which is momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Momentum also thrusts you closer to your goals. But how do you build momentum if you're not even assessing what's going right?
Exactly. 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 Well, Jaunai, we're at the end. So I'm gonna leave you to share any last words of encouragement or advice that you have for personal, spiritual, professional, and or business success.
Yeah, well, first off, let me just say thank you so much for allowing me to first off, just being connected to you um,
Absolutely.
is a blessing, and allowing me to come and have this open, candid, honest, transparent discussion about a little bit about who I am and what I've been through. But the one thing, if I did have to, leave people with one thought, is I want people to realize that, one, you have the power to create the life that you want. You have the power to create yourself to be whoever you are meant to be, and that you are more than enough and more than capable. And everything that you need to make any of that happen, you already have. You don't have to wait to discover something. You don't have to wait until anything slaps you in the face. You
Right.
have the power to make it happen and to just be it.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. I love it. Well, Jaunai, thank you so much for accepting the invite. It was an honor and a pleasure to serve you today. And I look forward to many more collaborations with you because I found out during our meeting that we both were John Maxwell certified. So there's a lot of areas that we can collaborate in together and help share and empower others. So I look forward to many more times of collaborations with you.
Yes, me too. Let's make it happen. Let's get something on the schedule ASAP.
Absolutely. I'm already practicing or studying for intentional living, so I welcome you aboard.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite books of his. I love intentional living, and maybe it comes in the form of a mastermind for that book that we might
Absolutely.
do together. That would be phenomenal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in to the I Am Transformed show, where we interview real people with real life transformations. The goal is to educate, inspire, and empower you to your next level because we've got kingdom work to do. So until next time, continue to declare and decree, I am transformed. God bless you all.
God bless you.